First video in the Mastering Mock Scrape series, I described the different types of scrapes that deer make. The primary and secondary scrapes, and scrapes during the rut, pre-rut, and non-rut periods. I thought I'd demonstrate how the deer utilize one of my properties and travel through it, and how that relates to where they put their own scrapes, and how you can make mock scrapes to catalog these deer, and then later in the season hunt for them. First, I want to describe this land a little bit. It's mostly, there's a lot of wetlands here. There's a creek bottom, and this is all mostly tag alders, tamarack. There's some poplars and stuff, and then a lot of open, really tall grassy areas. And does like to bed in those areas. So what the deer at this property are trying to do is they're trying to get to this field. All right. Now, there's another feature of this property over here is some high ridges. The land is like 4 or 5 feet taller than the rest of the surrounding land and is very dry. There's this area up here that's wooded. There is a ridge here. It's about like that, and it's very thick at the top of this ridge, but then it goes into a very thick tag alder marsh and then into the grasslands here. Now you can see it on this image here a little bit. There's a ridge here too, and the ridge runs from here up to here. It runs back down here. So this top part is the ridge, and then it opens up into a flats here. Now, again, the does want to get to this field over here to eat, and so do the bucks. But the does tend to bed closer to the feeding areas, and again, in more open areas. It's brushy and grassy, and that's the kind of like where they like to bed. And then how do they get to where they're going? Well, to get there, they follow a couple different paths. This is a backwater to the creek, and it's got tag alders along it and brush, and it provides a screen for them and cover. So the deer travel along this until they get to this little piece of woods. They go in here, follow a trail, they go across to the farm field, and they go out to eat. Now, some does also like to bed in here, and when they do, they like to follow this edge. They come out here, cross where this brush comes across, meet up with this trail, and go out. Also have does that bed up here, and from up here, a lot of times they like to follow this edge. You go out here, and you'll see there's a little brushy crossing here. They cross the trail here. You go out into this field, and get out into the farm field to eat. Likewise, some does up in here, follow this edge, meet up with this trail again here, and go. So where are the does themselves? Well, they like to bed right at the transition edge of the grass to the brush. So you see them scattered here, here. There are beds in here, and in here, and along here. And that's where the does are bedded. Now, like I said, does like that little bit more open areas. The bucks do not. They are often bedded farther away from the food and in thicker cover. Here, it's by these ridges over here is where they like to bed. Now, they bed right at the top of the ridge. They can look out down here to the south. This is a very thick tamarack and a lot of tag alders here. So it's very hard for anything to get to them from here, so they can watch this. And then because the prevailing winds come from the west, blow like this, when it hits this ridge, it sweeps across here, and it can blow the scent of anything trying to sneak up to them from up there. There are also bucks are bedded in here, on the ridge there, and they're bedded in here. Now, how do they travel? Well, during the early part of the season, during non-rut periods, they tend to come out here and follow this and meet up this trail and to meet up with those does. From here, you can see there's some brush crossing this area in the creek here, and that's where they're going. They're following here, and they're meeting up with the does here. Same with here. They follow here, cross where this brush is, and meet up with the does there. Okay, so that is how the deer are traveling during the non-rut periods. They're traveling from their bedded areas, meeting up the bucks and does, and then heading out into the fields to eat. So where are they leaving their scrapes? Well, both. Now these are scrapes that are for non-rut periods. They tend to be smaller and less defined than the primary rut scrapes. But you'll find them on edges, and they're often used at night. Um, but you'll find them on the edges of this cover as they walk along. You might find some scrapes here where there's some trees. Um, you'll find some along here, even along in here, even close to the road. Again, on these travel corridors, you'll find these scrapes. Whoops. All right. Now, you'll find some of these scrapes in here like that, and those are just communication scrapes, normal non-rut scrapes. Again, sometimes the licking branch is almost always there, but the scrape underneath may not be, or it may be very small and hard to tell from a squirrel digging or a turkey scratching. They're not very big or well defined. So I guarantee you the urine is there, marking it underneath there, and the licking branch is there, but the big open ground area may not be. And does really don't paw scrapes very often. It's very rare, and they don't have the power that the bucks do to get in there and dig it up anyway. However, there will be some primary non-rut scrapes. They're bigger, and sometimes you can actually find the scrape underground from these, mostly open up by bucks, but they're open up during the non-rut periods. I would expect to find those where the trails really get close together, where trails meet. You'll find them in this area. You'll find primary scrapes there. And I always do here. I find them actually here. And you'll find some primary scrapes here where they all meet up right at that point. That's where I seem to find some. Those are great areas to put cameras to catalog your deer. And you can hunt them early in the season during the non-rut. Now, there may be some more over here from the bucks, but they would be secondary scrapes to them right now. They wouldn't, again, you'd see them mostly at night when they're traveling. You're not going to get a lot of hunting action off of those. Now, what happens when the rut comes? Well, first the bucks change their patterns a little bit. A lot of times they're coming through here to meet up with the does to go and feed. When the rut comes, they change their pattern a little bit. And you'll see bucks coming off of here and coming up and going up to the top of this ridge. Same with here. They'll come from here and go to the top of the ridge. Well, the reason they're doing that is bucks really like to make primary scrapes in these locations because they're high ground. And in a situation like this, with the prevailing wind going this way, they're also great places to wind does. Before they meet up with the does, they can come to the top of this ridge, and with the wind again blowing this way, they can scent out any does that may be in estrus now before they go over there and find her. So what you'll often find in that area is some very big primary scrapes right at the top of this ridge, and this area's got them. Now you'll find some other places too, because once they come to this ridge, they do travel down, and when they meet up with the does here, I often find big primary scrapes here, and those are for pre-rut mostly, October 15th through 30th, before the peak of the rut, because at the peak of the rut, the large bucks will pretty much abandon scrapes. They're too busy chasing does. Little bucks may move in at that time and look at them, but the big bucks are busy chasing does. In other places, you'll find some primary scrapes here, during the rut, in pre-rut, and here. So that's how the scrapes change during the rut. Now those primary scrapes are very good ones to hunt. That's where you're going to see your big bucks. They're going to spend the time looking there, and as the doe's going to heat, they're going to spend more time during daylight. So you want to set up in stands near those. So let me talk a little bit about how you hunt those scrapes and which ones you want to hunt the most. As I said, these primary scrapes are really good places to start hunting about October 15th and running to before the peak rut, before the bucks abandon them because they're busy chasing does. My favorite ones to hunt in these situations, and like I said, there might be a primary scrape here too, where they come across any place where they're stopping to sniff out does. And the reason being is they're sniffing out does, and they smell these does going into estrus, it riles them up. So they start ripping things up. They put in some big rubs in the area, battling the brush. A lot of times they'll be fighting in this area, but they'll definitely be putting big primary scrapes in this area when they smell those estrus does. The ones I like to hunt, though, are the ones like these. This is a special area, and the bucks know it. So that's why, as I said, they're staging here, waiting for it to get a little bit later, but they're sniffing out these does that are over here, and they're getting riled up and they're scraping this area, and they're going to spend a lot of time here, and they'll usually have several scrapes right close to each other, and it's going to take them some time to work them. So if you set up here, you are going to have a good chance at harvesting that big mature buck. Now, it might be a little odd that you look at this and you think, well, these does, here's you met the does, you're not over here yet. So why are these scrapes so useful? Well, you got to remember, too, mature does, just like mature bucks, are very smart. They know from past years that there's going to be scrapes up here. They know the area as well. Now, when these mature does go into estrus and then they hit the peak estrus and are ready to breed, they're smart. They're going to travel over to where they know these scrapes are. They're going to mark in these scrapes to let the buck know that they're around and that they're ready to breed. So these become, again, very special. They'll mark here and let the does know too as they're leaving out. They'll make a special trip over here to those smart mature does, and those are the does the buck wants too. They want to pass on their genes to better animals and more and bigger fawns. So these can be really magical areas. Which brings me to one other discussion. As you see, the wind again goes from west to east, primarily out of west here. You hear a lot of guys going, oh, you can't fool a deer's nose. Oh, play the wind. Well, this is hard to do because if you tried to set up on the east or west, your scent is going to blow to the deer as they come at you. Now, you can go a little bit north and a little bit south, but it's hard to predict exactly where that deer is going to be, and he may get downwind of you. He's purposely going upwind to sniff these does. There's no way for you to be downwind to him and be in the path he's going in this particular situation. We make here at Nelson Creek Outdoors very good odor elimination sprays. We also make very good cover scents. These items do work. You cannot always play the wind. I can't predict thermals around these ridges. And how many times have I been in a stand, or even you've been in a stand, the wind is coming out of the west, it's a nice day, and all of a sudden a cold front comes in, and boom, suddenly the wind is blowing out of the northeast. It's hard to predict, if not impossible to predict, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're already in the stand. If you're in there during the best time of hunting, do you want to get out and move? No. So I recommend this. Practice scent control. Start with your laundry and unscented soap that eliminates scent. Then use a great um, scent elimination spray. Perhaps um, our you can use either one of our pre-mixed ones, or we have the concentrate in the bottle now. Whitetail Alchemy liquid ozone is the concentrate. Very affordable way to make your own. Just add it to a 2-ounce bottle to a gallon of distilled, and you have a good scent elimination spray. So that's how the deer move and utilize mock scrapes. So if you or their own scrapes, I should say, if you want to make mock scrapes, some of these high ridge areas, if you want to have a stand, a particular good area for a stand with good shooting and stuff, and have to be off a little bit, make your own mock scrape over here. You can pop your own mock scrape over here by this tree over here and attract those bucks over there and get them to use that area. That's what you can do with your mock scrapes. If you make scrapes along this area here, or use the ones that are already there, or you can make your own mock scrapes here. You can use those to catalog your deer before the rut periods and the non-rut periods. You can catalog them, and they make very good areas for that. Trail cameras by some of these non-rut or secondary scrapes, because they'll continue to be here through the rut. They just won't be primary scrapes. They'll be secondary scrapes. They may get a little bigger. They may visit them more. But again, a lot of times it tends to be at night when they're on the edges and stuff. So you'll want to hunt these primary scrapes. Now, I personally don't hunt over existing scrapes a lot. I prefer, and it's just me, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with doing it the other way, but I like to make my own scrapes nearby, a little cluster, big primary scrapes, mock scrapes, and I hunt over those. And that way I don't disturb the regular ones too much. I let the bucks get those, and I pretend that I'm a dominant buck in the area that might be his rival, and I have my own set. And boy, that just seems to work for me and riles him up. All right, so that should give you the information you're looking for on real scrapes, and then how where to put mock scrapes in similar areas. Um, it's best always to put your mock scrapes where a buck wants to already be. It's hard to draw him. Sometimes you'll find scrapes too. If a buck, for whatever reason, was out in the middle of nowhere and whoop, we dropped a scrape there. There's nothing else in the area and he doesn't travel there. He just happened to be there for some reason, eating some acorns or something. And another buck came by, riled him up, and he made a scrape out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, he's never going to visit it again. It's just going to get covered up with leaves and it's going to be gone. If you put a mock scrape in that area, it's not a buck's probably, he may come and look at it once, but he's probably not going to visit it. He's just not going to do it very often. So it's a low probability. I wouldn't bother trying to track them where you think you want them. Always go in a similar area where the deer already want to be, and you'll have a lot more success with your mock scrapes. That's one of the things with mock scrapes too. Don't be afraid to be bad at it, because you're going to be. In the beginning, you're not going to know where to put them. You're not going to understand, and you're going to mess it up. But you'll learn. By having trail cameras especially, you'll get to see what's going on, and you'll get to see what spots work better. Try some areas that you think look good, and you may find out they're not good. If a deer doesn't come and visit it in a week, yeah, he's probably never going to visit it, so don't worry about it. Find another spot. That goes for both primary scrapes especially, but that can go for these travel scrapes too, these non-rut scrapes. So be willing to be bad at it, be willing to practice and get better at it, and you will. Okay, and then the next part here, part 3, I'm going to actually get out in the woods. I'm going to show some of the areas where deer travel, and then I'm going to show you how to make both non-rut and rut mock scrapes out in the woods using Lucky 7 cents. Don't forget to like this video, smash the subscribe button, and visit our website at NelsonCreekOutdoors.com.